Hi Tony, here's a quick video showing what I did to work on these stars in this image. What I noticed was if this is my image, I'd be thinking there's perhaps a few too many stars here. They're sort of taking over this beautiful background. The stars are a nice shape, which is a good thing, but some of them are just have this blue fringing round, and some of them are just a little bit too bloated, a bit too large. But we can work on that. So the way I would do it is, let's just make this a bit smaller. This is a non-linear image. Had it been linear, you'd have a green bar down the side there. So let's firstly split off the stars from this background. So we do that using the StarNet 2 tool. It's a non-linear image, so keep that unchecked. Drag this across here. Oops. I'll pause the video because this will take a few seconds. Right, that's finished, so we can close that down. This is often a good test of whether there are too many stars on the original image, because if we look at this and zoom in a bit, you can see how nice that looks, which is a clear sign that we've just perhaps got a few too many stars. But that's a personal touch. You know, if you want all the stars in, you can leave them in. So we just save that to the workspace for the time being and look at this image. So the first thing I'm going to do is try to address some of these stars with the blue fringing. They're oversaturated anyway, so I think the simplest approach is let's firstly rename this to be stars. And let's open this one back up and let's rename that to be starless. So we've got two images there. Let's minimize that. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I want to address these brighter stars. The fainter stars seem okay, but the brighter ones have this blue fringing. So what we can do is we can attack the brighter stars by creating a mask. So you use the range selection tool on this image, click the preview, then it's a case of just adjusting this top slider until we have the stars that we want to look at, want to address. Let's perhaps leave it at that. Click apply, close that down on the preview. Now we've got the stars image and we've got this one here, which I'm going to call star mask, so we don't get confused. Now I'm going to apply this star mask as a mask to the stars image. In case you don't know, you just take that icon there, that tab, drag it across to below this one here. This goes brown, which shows you that there's a mask in place, but you can tell because everything's pretty much gone red. We'll leave this window open because we're going to be adjusting it. If you've not worked with masks before, basically everything in red is protected. So these little white bits, and let's just zoom in, they're open to change. Now the idea is, if I toggle this button here to see the mask on and off, turn it off, let's just zoom in a little bit more, and then turn it back on again. The aim is to make these little white holes big enough to cover the star and the blue fringing, because that's what we're going to be working on. So basically that mask isn't quite big enough, this mask here. So what we need to do is make these stars a little bit bigger, and we do that using this morphological transformation process. Set it to dilation using these values. Drag that across to this. You can see straight away it's made this obviously bigger, but because this is a mask in this current image, you can actually see the effect straight away. That's probably going to be big enough. The next thing we want to do is where the holes are in the mask, we want to soften the edge. So what we can do is go back to this, close that down, open up the convolution tool, do a preview, and let's leave it at that setting, see how it goes. So let's drag that to the star mask, not the image itself, as we're affecting the mask. And we can see straight away, in fact, we can close down the preview, we don't need that anymore. It started to soften the edges. Let's do that again, applying it to the mask. These have gone softer still. So that's okay, I think we can work on that. So what we can do now is just minimize this mask. Don't close it. If you close it, then it deletes it from here as well. So minimize that, pop it out of the way for the time being in case we need it. We've finished with this. So let's work on the this area here. Firstly, let's create a little preview of that busy area here so we can see what's going on. Now, I'm going to reduce this blue by using the curves tool. So open the curves tool, we're on the preview, click the preview button within the curves tool. The mask is still applied, but it just doesn't show here. Now if you go on to either the saturation button here or the color button, let's use the color, and if you drag this down, I usually pick somewhere in the middle and drag it down, and then whilst you're doing it, look at the image on the left hand side. You can see that the color's gone. Take it the other way, you can make it worse if you want. But let's bring it down so it just disappears. Something like that. You can apply that. Now close the this preview down here. We've applied that only to this preview because if we look at this one here, it still needs work. So just drag that icon onto the main image, and that's gone. Let's have a look round. Yeah, there's maybe a tad bit of blue there, so you could perhaps do some more work on that, but it's only a demo, so it's got the most of it. So we can close this curves transformation down, and we can now delete this mask by using that button there, or you can go into mask, remove mask. Great, okay, so that's the blue addressed. The next thing we might want to do is just reduce the number of stars. So there's a number of ways you could do this. You could create masks if you wanted to, but just for the sake of this quick demo, all I'm going to do is open up the, make sure that image is highlighted, click the curves tool. You could use either luminance or RGBK. I'm going to use RGB. Set the preview on here so you can see a live window happening. And it's a case of adjusting this line so as to reduce the number of stars, but still have some degree of brightness to them. So if you work on this bottom part, bring this across, you can see the stars getting fainter. Excuse me, but they're probably gone a bit too grey, so you can address that by moving this up here. Let's try that. Click apply and reset. That's probably not far off actually for this demo, so let's close this down. Actually, close down the preview window. We've still got to apply it to the main image. In fact, we have applied it to main image, so we're fine. We can check that by hovering over this. That's good. So if you wanted to, you could try, maybe you wanted to reduce it a bit more, so you can just do the same again. And bring it down a little bit, that side, your traditional S shape. You can adjust this as you like. You can go quite severe if you want and have hardly any stars, but something like that is not going to go far wrong. Apply that, close these windows down. Now if you zoom in, you might think some of these stars look a bit harsh, a little blocky. You want them to blend into the background a little bit more. So what you can do is just blur them. So if you go back to the convolution tool, click on your preview, and I think something like this. If you want to, if you can zoom in on those preview over here, stars preview, you can adjust this. I usually have these settings here. You can adjust this second slider to make it more blurred or less. I think something like that's going to be fine for this demo. So apply that, close that preview window down. We've only applied it to this preview window here, so we now need to do this main image. So drag that across to there. Oh, that's got slightly blurred. That's better. Okay, close that down. We can remove this preview. So right click, delete. Let's have this over here, and let's open up the starless image. So we now need to put these stars back in here, and the simplest way I think is to use pixel math. Just open up a window, and the formula, you can go to the expression editor, but we've only got two windows here, so it's going to be straightforward. We want to basically take the starless image, it's called there starless, and we want to add to it, the space is optional, but just for clarity, add the stars image. So starless plus stars, and then drag that across to this. That's added those stars. Let's get rid of this. Let's iconize that in case we need to do any further work on it. And let's see how that looks. Yeah, it's not looking too bad. What we can do is make that slightly bigger. We can compare this to your previous image by, I called it before here. Open that up. Let's make it the same size and overlap the two. And in case you don't know, if you hold down your control button and page down, and page down again, it'll toggle between the two images. So you can see if you like that effect. And if it was mine, I'd perhaps brighten those stars a little bit and maybe blur them a little bit more so that they can blend in more. This is the one I did, the after one. Let's open up that one. And let's open up yours. Add the two. Put the two over top of each other and do the same again. So you can see what's what. That's one way of de-emphasizing stars. I think it was easier because the stars in your image were round, so you could easily work on that. Had they not been round, then what you can do is you can go back to the linear image once you've stacked it. Run your StarNet tool here, click linears, then you've got your starless and your star images both in linear form. And then actually creating your star images is a lot easier because you just stretch it less, do a smaller stretch, a soft stretch, and then you can use the curves tool or whatever else you fancy, the histogram transformation. The other advantage by working on a linear image with stars is before you do the histogram transformation, do a little bit of arcsine H stretch because that's less aggressive on the colors. That'll preserve the colors a little bit. So do a little bit of that and then do your main stretch on the histogram, which is mainly for your brightness. There you go, mate. Hopefully that's okay. If you've got any questions, then yeah, ping me. Cheers.